average human spends 30 to 50% of their time thinking about imagining themselves and planning the future. They're living in the future. If you're spending all your time in the future, you're not alive right now.
And you say, if I'm right, that the four pillars of happiness are friendship, family, faith, and work. Is that
Right.
right?
That's
Yeah.
correct. Yeah,
So
those are
let,
the pillars on which the happiest people build their lives. It's kind of an investment portfolio because these things take time. And then, of course, Oprah and I, we go into describing what each one of these things mean because they're not self-evident what they mean in different people's lives.
no, and I think the work one is really interesting because I think sometimes it's a mixed message as to whether work should be something on which you base happiness, and whether if you give your life to your work and that makes you happy, that is necessarily a good thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. And there are a lot of people who over index on work. Here in the States, there are people who work routinely 80, 90 hours a week. And London, God knows, it's a factory of people's lives, relatively speaking. And the biggest problem that we have is workaholism for people who don't do the other three. So faith, family, friends, and work. Remember the faith, family, friends part. You need a diversified portfolio. Only paying attention to your work is like putting all of your pension portfolio into Greek bonds. I mean, I don't recommend. I'm an economist. So trust me, I don't recommend. That's not a good. I mean, it might work out, but it probably won't. It's not a good strategy, and you might be very disappointed come retirement time about how much you have to live on. So work is really important, and work doesn't mean working for pay, by the way. Working might mean raising your children. It might mean taking care of family members. It might mean volunteering. There's lots and lots of ways to work, but that's the productive use of your labor, and it has to be one part of the four dedicated really only to two things. You're creating value, and you see the value you're creating, and you're serving other people. That's really what it is. It's not how much money you make and the power and the admiration of other people. It's using the way you make your daily bread and the way that you create value to be a valuable person and be recognized for that, and to serve other people who need you.
It's interesting, of course, begs the question. You're an economist and you're talking about it's not making money that's important. And I'm sure many people wonder, it's easy to say that you don't need money and money doesn't make one happy. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, of course, people need enough to feed themselves and take care of their families. We know that. We want to have a society where that's possible. We even set up government programs to make it such that people don't fall too much through a social safety net. We have that in all of the OECD countries. Some countries are doing it differently than other countries, but we all want that kind of thing. So money is no joke. You have to have it to exist in a market-based society, or really any society that we see on the earth today. But here's the thing. All of our grandmothers taught us that money doesn't buy happiness. And it's true. What money does is it eliminates the common sources of unhappiness up to a particular point. So we find in the United States that somewhere up to like $100,000 a year, that really will defray unhappiness in all sorts of meaningful ways, depending on where you live. Some places are more expensive than others, probably more than that in London, New York, quite frankly. But above that, it doesn't eliminate more sources of unhappiness, and people will think they're going to feel better from having more money and chase it and chase it and chase it for the rest of their lives. And what are they eliminating is the time that they need for the things that really will bring happiness, which are based on faith and family and friendship and serving other people.
And actually, talking about chasing, that's this element slightly different of looking to the future that humans do, looking to the future, assessing the future, making plans. And you talk about the importance of just being in the moment to happiness.
Yeah, that's true. You have to enjoy your life. And one of the problems, probably a lot of people who want to watch how to, frankly, look, we're strivers. We want to get better. We want to make progress. That's why we do something called how to, so we can learn more and we can use that information. Let's not kid ourselves. This is not the average person on the street watching this show. Why? Because we tend to live in the future. You find that strivers and entrepreneurs and hard workers, and one of the great things about them is that they always see the possibility for a better future. And our society is based on the labor and optimism of people who see a better future, or at least the hope of people who see a better future. That's really important. But here's the thing. It can go too far. The average human spends 30 to 50% of their time thinking about imagining themselves and planning the future. They're living in the future. If you're spending all your time in the future, you're not alive right now. You're not experiencing the present. And what you're doing now is thinking about a future you're thinking about a future now. And when you get to that future now, you'll have missed it because now is in the past and that future is now the present you're not paying attention to. Your whole life passes before your eyes. And so one of the things that I recommend, and the strivers, the entrepreneurs, more than 30 to 50%, up to 80% of their time is in the future, is taking real measures to say, I'm alive now. I'm experiencing this now. Walk for an hour before dawn in nature without your phone, thinking about the things that you're seeing, listening to the sounds, smelling the morning air. Oh, it's crazy, actually. It feels like a brand new life to a certain extent. It's also hard to do, but the better at it you get, the happier you'll be.
You talk about that in a chapter about faith. Do you think that faith is necessary for happiness? Can you be happy if you are not with a faith?
Absolutely, you can be. When we talk about faith, however, that's a big umbrella term. Faith, in this sense, it encompasses philosophy, spirituality, a sense of the transcendent. What you really have a hard time being happy with is you have no sense of bigger things than you, is what it comes down to. Bigger ideas, the majesty of the universe. There are a lot of ways to get that. And so, I mean, I say I'm a Catholic. It's a really important part of my life for sure. But as a social scientist, you don't have to be a Catholic to get this. I mean, it's like, I hope the Pope's not listening. Does he listen to How To? I'm not sure. But anyway. Oh, yes,
all the time. One of our regulars.
I know he's actually calling in right now. So one of the things that's important to understand is that we need to zoom out from our psychodrama. To be happy, get small. It's very important. Why? Because otherwise, you know, the narrative in your head all day long is my job and my house and my car and my success and my money and my lunch and me. It's so, the psychodrama is so boring. And when you zoom out and get small, you have peace and you have perspective. And so what I recommend is that everybody spend at least 15 minutes a day to start, more later, reading the wisdom of the ages. Maybe that's the Stoic philosophers. Maybe that's a traditional religion. Maybe it's starting a meditation practice. Maybe that's analyzing the fugues of Johann Sebastian Bach, or maybe it is that walk in nature where you actually have an experience of the majesty and the wisdom of the ages. One way or the other, you got to get small, and that's what Oprah and I mean by faith.
And what's the balance then between getting small? Because when you get small, you may feel that none of it matters.
Yeah, actually feeling that none of it matters temporarily is central to happiness. Because when everything is heavy and everything is serious and everything matters so very much, it's just terrible. Life is tyranny under those circumstances. And when you can zoom out on your own life a little bit, you find you're just laughing at what you thought was so important. You know, it's, oh man, yeah, I can't believe it. I can't, you know, I paid that bill late and somebody called me on the phone and I felt really embarrassed about that. And whatever, I got a B in a class or whatever the problem happens to be. Get some space, man. It's so important that we zoom out on it, that we make the problems small and our own issues small. It's not going to stay that way. It's not like you're going to become the Dalai Lama and have this, you know, grand enlightenment where you feel like you're small forever. No, you're a human being. You're going to come right back to it. But you need peace. You need space. You need a safe space in your life where you're not there bothering you.